My name's Ryan Harris. We're in Upper Fruitland, New Mexico, near the Four Corners area.
Let's start by having you tell me your name and where we are.
My name is Brenda Harris, and I'm in Upper Fruitland, New Mexico.
Growing up, I did live in here. Yeah, it was my parents' plot here. I've kind of grown up with it. We always had weird instances like flashing lights flickering and then scratches here and there, footsteps in the house areas. So yeah.
Do you have do you have the ghost wolf?
Yeah.
That's
very awesome.
Right here. This one's so you hit and then it's running right here, and then it goes up into the sky.
Well, the kind of things that we've been experiencing here on our property alone, we've had a Bigfoot that comes through. Also, we've hear strange noise. Sometimes in this house that we're building, our kids would hear footsteps or a little girl talking or laughing. Also, we've also picked up something on camera which looks like a ghost dog, a wolf dog is what I call it.
Video that we have, I started setting up cameras after we had like several footprints that were that we caught, or not caught on camera, but that we saw near the street light. So my first thing was to start setting up camera. We have a kitchen window that faces towards the north, which would be the backyard of the house. It was a small little mini DV camera, so it's all tapes, can't be edited or anything like that. But that was the very first thing that I caught was the ghost wolf. That one was a very good one. What makes it even more interesting is you could, on the footage, it looks like it's transparent. But on the film, there's parts off frame that you can't see in the footage. There's a wooden shed off camera.
So where's the movement? Where am I looking right now?
So, it's right here.
Okay.
So it comes over here, it jumps in.
Oh, good God!
Yeah, it's huge. So I'll back up again. So you hear that noise. Let me see. Here. Do you hear that noise? That's it. It actually jumped on top of the shed that's off the frame here. There's a wooden shed here. You could, if you listen to it through your headphones, you can hear dog claws hit the top of it.
So here's the other thing. This up here is head, right?
And it's all wooden rooftops. So whatever, you could hear it when it comes into frame that it actually like sounds like dog claws that hit the roof, and it jumps into frame. And the best reference we could get, we had a F1 Ford, was it a Ford pickup F-150? When it landed next to that truck, it was as tall as the truck, the same height as the cab. So it was very tall, and it was weird because it ran across, or what it looks like, it like floats across the frame, and then it just flies up into the sky. It's a very weird thing.
Just flies off in the sky.
Yeah.
Well, show them like the where you did black and white, you can really see.
I have to.
Oh, you have to look.
Yeah.
That is wild.
I have where I did the black and white, like the negative, and you can see it's physically there.
Oh my goodness.
And this is all on mini DV tape.
Yeah.
It's not digital. I only digitize it to the computer.
Also something that looks like maybe, the best I can describe it is it looks like a juvenile Bigfoot, a very young one that seems like it boils up from the ground. We picked that on camera.
I even slow it down and keep a little, like it comes out like either from tractors and it jumps. Like it.
Why does it look like this?
Since it's a tape, is it noise? You hear that wood noise? That was the weird thing. So the reason why it's like that is it's taking longer exposure because it's at night.
Gotcha.
And it's on.
It's not a night vision camera.
Yeah,
Got it. So it's just long exposure.
Oh, yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Also, we've picked up something that looks like a bright light. Possibly could be a UFO that was in the backfield here. And in that big, the bright light, it looks like a figure that starts taking its shape. Looks to me, I call it like a glowing man standing there, with like it looks like 3 black images standing in front of it, and on the side. A lot of things going on in that video alone.
Okay, just start by telling me your name and where we are.
Hi, my name's Jaden, and we are in Farmington, New Mexico. Guess that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was born and raised here, born in Shiprock. Mostly quiet, nothing really happens here. My life, I'm usually just waking up, go to my farm, check on the cows. That's about it. Since I was like 4, I'm working on the farm since I was 4. Helping out my grandpa and my grandma. We grow corn, we grow squash, fruit trees, and we have cattle as well. Yeah, a lot of people are native. Some of us are half, some of us are all mixed.
How important is that to you, your culture?
It's really important to me. Me and my dad not too long ago had a talk about how our culture is really important to us.
Do you ever worry about some of the history of your people being lost or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm pretty scared about it, especially our language. It's pretty rare for people to learn. Me, I barely know how to speak out. I know how to introduce myself. It's pretty simple. Yeah, my name is Jaden. My mom's clan is Tutchitni. My dad's clan is Klashchi. Klashchi means red cheek people, and Nakaidanet is it's like supposed to be meaning Mexican people. That's what it means. I forgot what Tutchitni. Oh, my grandpa is Ashihe. Che is grandpa, and Ashihe is salt people. That's what it means.
What is salt people?
You know where Salt Lake City is?
Yeah.
That's where they come from.
Take us from point A to point B, like from the time you're out there, what you're doing, who you're with, and then what actually happened. You know, what you remember of the details of that.
That was actually a very recent experience when I was in Skinwalker Canyon. A lot of people say nothing happens there. It's just a hoax that people made up, old man's tale. But for me, that's a whole different story. When me and my buddies got there, we were just bored. We just got done with the car meet. And we went down there with our cars, and as we were going down there, one of my buddies said, "This is a bad idea." And I said, "Don't worry, nothing ever happens here." So we went down. We were supposed to go to the cave that's over there, but since it was raining and there's clay everywhere, we couldn't go in there. But when we were walking around, we kept on going deeper and deeper into the canyon, and I just smelled something very putrid, something very bad. I look in front of me, we had these high-power military flashlights, where we're looking around, and I just see this giant being, and it's probably about 7-8 feet tall maybe. And you've seen the skull of a deer head, right? It looked like half of it was decomposed, and it was standing on all 2 legs. Some people say it might have been a Wendigo. Wendigos live up north with the Lakotas. They live up there. Down here, we have Skinwalkers, El Chupacabra, but that Skinwalker that I saw, its face was just like decomposed, sunken eyes, giant antlers, and I could just see like how many scars it had on its chest. I could see its arms just extremely long and lanky. It looked like it just got done killing something because blood was dripping off of its snout. It looked right at us, and I had my my gun with me. I usually have it with me wherever I go. But I grabbed it, took about 3 shots at it. I just heard this high-pitched scream. It was very high-pitched. We covered our ears, and I just see it run, and I told my buddies, we gotta get out of here. We just ran and ran and ran. And we just smelled that smell of dead, rotten flesh. It just stung our noses. It was making us cry. We were just running as fast as we could.
When you first saw it, how far from it were you?
Probably from here, like, I'll say about 20 feet probably. 20, maybe 50.
Could you hear, when it was standing there, could you hear it breathing or growling or anything? Do you remember?
It was kind of like a guttural growl. Kind of like a dog, kind of like that.
What do you remember thinking right before the moment that you actually shot at this thing? Because in my mind, if I saw something like that, I'd be too terrified to move. And obviously, you're more equipped to handle it.
Yeah. I just thought to myself, this isn't my first time seeing one. I've had multiple other experiences with them. I know my bullets wouldn't kill it, but I know it would hurt it. And that Skinwalker was just too close for comfort.
You say you've had multiple sightings of these things. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Some people say bad luck. The way how when I was born on the 13th. Oh, bad number. Scary number. But I say it's because not too long ago, probably about last year, I've had a medicine man come see me because I just got done getting out of a car accident too, and a lot of bad things been happening to me. So medicine man came and checked me out, and he said that witch people, they're bestowing bad spirits upon you. That's why.
Why would that be?
I'm a cross-country runner, and the guy that told me, medicine man told me that he was like a tall guy, white guy, blonde hair, really big nose. And me being a cross-country runner, I meet all sorts of people, and it could just be a number of people that I know. Can
you describe? You already did this, but describe a little bit what the canyon looks like, where you were at when you saw it.
I'll probably have to say it's like kind of not narrow, but at the opening of the canyon, it's like really wide and open. But the more you get into it, the more it kind of gets more narrower and narrower and narrower. And the more you go in, the more it's like less uneven soil, and that's probably the best I could put it.
When it took the bullet, when it got hit, after you shot at it, do you remember if it, like how it moved, or did it jolt? What happened?
It looked like it didn't do anything, but I just noticed that it put its like claw or hand over it like this, and just like got back on its all threes, and then just ran away for a little bit. Probably to get more skinwalkers maybe, because we just smelled more and more of that rotten smell.
Do you think there's multiple of these things? What if that was the case? If it had got more and they come after you, what happens?
They would say get a medicine man. That's what they would say. They would say get medicine man. He'll take it off of you. Get a protection ceremony.
Okay, can skinwalkers turn into other humans?
Yes, they can. Like how they could turn in, they could just be like the regular human being. Like the person that you probably bumped into might have been a skinwalker, might have been medicine man, might have been just a regular person. They could be regular people, you don't even know it. And how they turn into the animals, you gotta wear the skin of the animal that they choose. They could be a coyote, they could be a deer, they could be a buffalo, whatever.
Can they mimic voices or sounds? And
They could kinda mimic. Me and my buddies, we went camping one time, and we decided to play hide and seek in the dark. Best idea we'd never had. But when we were trying to find each other, One of my buddies thought I was by the lake because he heard my voice. And I told him I wasn't by the lake. I was behind a tree, like far from the lake. So they could kind of mimic voices.
Okay, how do people become a skinwalker? How does one do that?
How do they become a skinwalker? That's the most frequent question I always get, especially on Reddit. Probably how do you become, like the biggest one is by killing the person you love most. Like you would do anything for them. You gotta kill them, take them to a ceremony, and then they would do the rest of it. I don't know the rest of it. I never interviewed a skinwalker, nor do I even want to encounter another one.
How many encounters do you think you've had at Skinwalker Canyon?
That was probably like my 5th time going to Skinwalker Canyon. That was probably my first one. I've been there multiple times. Nothing happened, but that first time last year, that was my first time I had an experience there.
If you encounter one, what's the best course of action?
Run. Just run. They may be faster than you, but just run. Or just say no, or just have no feeling of fear at all, which is pretty hard because we're human. You gotta feel fear at some point.
I was born and raised in, I was born in Shiprock, New Mexico, raised in Farmington, New Mexico. I reside here in Upper Fruitland since 1986. Well, I was born and raised as a Christian, so I wasn't raised knowing the Navajo culture. So I was more in learning about God and stuff like that.
Why here? Why are there so many different?
Not sure why they are around this area. It's very active. On the property that we live alone here, we've had, like I said, I mentioned that we've had so much activity going on. Found out that years ago, probably back in the maybe 50s, I believe, we found out that part of our land here was, we're on a burial site, and our next door neighbors, they're having a lot of activity as well. We'll come to find out that they found out that we are partially like on a burial site that was here many, many years ago. And that's probably the reason why we're having so much activity here. There's a lot of energy, I guess you could say. You know how sometimes they say that a lot of the spirits haven't moved on like they should have, and some are still hanging around, hanging on. That's the only thing that I could think of.
If it's something you don't want to answer or can't answer, that's fine. But I do want to get a little bit into like the shape-shifting skinwalker traditions. Can you talk about that at all?
Well, not really. A lot of we're told not to talk about the skinwalkers. It's like a bad taboo. Any kind of cryptid, the things that I just mentioned, we're told not to talk about. The Bigfoot, the Skinwalker, the gargoyles, all that stuff that's around the area, we're told not to talk about it. Why? We've asked why, and it's a bad omen. Like, for instance, if we look at a Bigfoot, like it's looking at us and we look right straight in the eyes, we're gonna die within 7 years. That's what some of the natives believe that. Or something bad other than dying may happen. A sickness may come upon you. The same way with the Skinwalker. Skinwalker is a very, very touchy subject here on the reservation. We get a lot of backlash, you know, if you talk about that subject. It's a very touchy subject. So I'm going to leave that at that with that one, because there's so much that goes into that I was surprised. So yeah, we're told not to talk about that, especially that one.
You mentioned the ghost dog. Have you ever seen or talked to anyone who's seen like a Dogman or a werewolf-looking creature that has that's almost like translucent? Yes,
as a matter of fact, there were some individuals that were heading to work on this road on N36. Now, like my son had mentioned earlier, that there's a nappy it's called Nappy, where they grow a lot of, it's an agriculture place where they grow a lot of crops of hay and corn, onions, stuff like that. Well, some workers were heading to work and they get to a stop. And just as he was getting ready to go across, this huge looking like dog, like a ghost figure of a huge dog. They said it was about, if you were sitting in the truck, it stood as high as the hood of the truck. And it ran right in front of them and just took off like it was gone. So there's several people that have seen something like that up in the, right up here on top of the hill here. Several have seen that. But as far as actually seeing one, I did run across a family contacting me where what she described was a huge dog, very muscular, very tall. She said it stood probably about 7.5 feet tall, and there was 2 of them. So there was one, and what had happened is that she had let her sheep out in the morning, her and her daughter, about 7 o'clock in the morning, and they have about 30 sheep along with goats and a ram, and they had 2 sheepdogs. They take them every morning, the sheepdogs, they take them down into the canyon. So like I said, it's 9 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning. That's where the dogs take them every day. And when they come back, it's usually about 4 o'clock when the sheepdogs bring them back. Well, I believe it was on a Saturday morning when they did that, let the dogs take care of them. So they take them down into the canyon. And all of a sudden, about 9 o'clock in the morning, all the sheep were back up at the house. So the mom and the daughter, they just happened to look at the front door, it was open, and they noticed all the sheep was there, back at the house. They're like, what, what's going on? So they went outside to go check on their animals, and they start counting all of their sheep. Well, they were missing 2 of them and one of their sheepdog. So they hurdled all the ones that were back at the house, they put them back in the corral. That's when they noticed that they were missing a ram and a sheep and one of their sheepdogs. So after they got them back into the corral, the mom and the daughter, they went back down into the canyon and they started driving around to see if they could find them. And they couldn't find them, but when they got down and they drove, I'm not sure how far down, there's one area where it's flat. When they got to that flat surface, that's when they noticed the ram's head was laying off to the side along with the skin. So whatever attacked the ram took the ram's head, ripped the ram's head along with the backbone, threw it off to the side, ripped the whole skin off of the ram, is off to the side. Now those are laying there. So that spooked them. They thought, well, maybe it was a pack of dogs. And like, no, not this. This is something else. So they started driving around more, and they wanted to go look for the sheep and the sheepdog. Well, they couldn't find it. So they kept driving around, and they came back. Well, we'll go ahead and grab the skin and the head, and take it back. So when they drove back to where those items were laying, they were sitting in their truck. When they were sitting on their truck, they were like facing, I would say, from north to south. So the mom was talking to the daughter, which the daughter was driving, so she could look across the mesa there, across that little canyon. So where they're sitting, there's like a wash, like a little canyon, a wash. It's a big wash, I should say. And across that wash, there's a big mound of dirt. The mom was talking to the daughter, and they're trying to figure out what the heck happened, what killed, the ram, just the way it was killed. So they were talking, and the mom noticed something move on that mound of dirt. It was a big mound of dirt. And when it moved, she said it stood up, and it was tall. And the color of it, she said, like a salt and pepper color, silver and grayish color, with some white, mixture of it. It stood up on its 2 legs, and it turned, and it just like looked at them. So they made like eye contact, and that really scared the mom. It turned around, it walked. As it turned, it looked at them, She said it was very tall, very muscular in the chest, and it had a long fluffy tail. Another one stands up beside it, exact same color, but a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter. She said that both of them walked around the mound of that dirt, and they were gone. As soon as they saw that, they they just raced back home. They didn't bother to catch, grab the things that they wanted. So they went back home and they were really scared. And I think it was about three days later, I believe, 2 or 3 days, or so when they contacted me like, hey, this is what's going on, can you come out? So that's when I went out there to go check. But the next day, they went back down to that area to go retrieve the skin and the head. Well, it was gone. And what they came back upon was the skin of the ram. It looks like this thing came back and just ate what was left on that skin, ate all of that, because the wool, it was scattered all over the place, all over the ground. So that then the head, they couldn't find the head. They didn't know where it went. They had contacted one of the ladies that live in our areas, and they related that message to me. That's when I went down there. Myself and one of my teammates went down there. And we hiked down in this ravine there, in this wash. And we never did find the dog. They never found the dog. They never found the sheep. They never found the rest of the body of the ram, any of those 3 animals. They didn't find anything. Well, when we walked down into this wash, we finally came across the head with the backbone still attached and pieces of the bones, the jawbone that were down in that wash that we came across. We did come across a print which looks like possibly a big canine print. That's what we came across. Now, where these things were sitting on that mound, we walked around that mound there, and it was very sandy, so when these things stepped, it didn't leave a good impression. So what we came across, what looked like the footprint, it was huge, big. But like I said, when you step in sand, you lose all your good impressions. So it didn't leave like the nail, how the toenails of a dog, you can see that, right? When they step on mud, you can see that. But not in the sand, because it was just too sandy and you just lose it, that good imprint. But we did, in this wash, we did find a good print, so we took pictures of that. We did take pictures of the wool and the head, so I'll show you those here. But people in this area, in the area that we found these items and where this happened, is an area called Chaco Wash, and that is probably about maybe 8-9 miles from here. Also, I did, when I was investigating in one area where there's a lot of also Bigfoot activity, but when I was taking pictures on the island, it looked like a black figure. It looked like a dog, but it had red eyes. So I did take some pictures of that as well. That was sitting down on that island there across the river. I should say, kind of like in the middle of the river. When we were down in that area, you just get this eerie feeling something's watching you. So when I start feeling like that, if I had the camera with me, I'll start taking pictures, just all the way around us, and see if we pick up anything. And I just happened to pick up this one figure that was in the bushes watching us across from where we were at. Sometimes I do hear that they feel like they are attached to them. And this is why another thing that the natives do is, if I'm investigating in an area, a lot of them, before they come home, they'll say a prayer so they don't bring these evil spirits back home with them, because then you'll start having stuff happen here at their home. So they'll do their little prayer, or they'll burn sage, put that around them. So as it smokes, you bring that all on you. That way you won't bring all of that stuff home.
Can you describe a little bit about the area where we are for the audience? So like introducing them to where we are and what the terrain looks like.
In this area where I live in Upper Fruitland, there's a lot of farmland. So a lot of people do a lot of farming. There's some areas that are kind of rough terrains that if you go along the mesa, like some of the hills on the south side of us, they look like you could easily walk, you know, just at kind of like an angle, like it'd be easy. But when you get to it, it's not. It's like almost you're walking straight up. So and it's really soft sand-like. Other than that, it's not too bad rough terrain unless you get to the river, where there used to be a lot of thick brushes, but now they have cleared out a lot of that because of some of the things that run back down towards the river.
Do you think there is, first of all, there are a decent amount of caves here, right?
As far as caves, there is some caves along the mesa where there's more rock area. So we got some of those here. Very few that they bunker down in.
So do you think like Dogman would use those caves or come out of the cave?
Yeah, I believe so. Because it seems like everything that we've experienced and what we've seen, they seem to run back down towards the river each time. And those are, in those areas along the river, there are some caves, and that's where they always run.
In your opinion, is an encounter with one of these things a negative thing or positive?
A lot of it's negative. Some of them, because a lot of them, they attack their animal, the livestock and stuff. I get a lot of people that say that these things usually tap on the windows or hit the side of the house. They yell, howl. A lot of it is killing their livestock.
What about people? Is there any precedence for like these things going after people? I don't know about missing people in the area or anything like that.
Well, the missing people, a lot of that has to do mainly out towards the mountains, where again, Bigfoot's a big thing around here. So there has been some reports that Bigfoot has taken some people. As far as attacking, yes. But as far as like Dogman and all, attacking, I haven't really heard any of attacking people yet. But mainly, like I said, their livestock. No, I take that back. There was an individual that said that there was something that came when he was outside. He was outside in the woods, and something that looked like a Dogman that when he seen it, he got really scared and took off running, and this thing started running right behind him. He said it did scratch him in the back, but as far as like really manhandling and attacking him, he said no. He said he believes that it just did it to give him a good scare to get him out of there.
Do most people, after they've had an encounter with one of these like Dogman, does it kind of haunt them, or do they, you know, like what are the lasting ramifications of like encountering one of these things?
They don't want to ever encounter that again because it scared the crap out of them, and they'll never go back to that place where they had the encounter.
The people that have these sightings, does it appear that it's a random, like, bad luck, or did something happen that may have precipitated this thing showing up?
It was just a random thing. I guess it maybe just been in the area, and it just came right across it. Wasn't expecting it at all.
When we were building this house, it was just a skeletal part of it, just the foundation. And we were living in this small trailer, which is next to the house, very small trailer. And what woke me up was we had this weird screech noise. I don't know what it was. It just kind of woke me up. And we had a husky that used to be tied up in the back. And I noticed she was kind of like panic barking, like nervous barking. So I didn't really think of any of it. I just kind of like peeked out the door or the window. I wear contacts, so I had to do this little thing with my eyes to kind of get a little bit of focus, and I seen she was looking at something, but she was backing away from whatever it was at the length of the chain. So she was trying to back away but couldn't get very far away. So I hurried up and put on my contacts, but I only put on one side, and I quickly opened the door, and I seen we had these sheds in the back, and I could see something like standing next to where she was at, and it looked like, I want to say like a goat man kind of deal. Like I could see like the bottom legs was definitely like fur-like, and upper torso looked like it was just covered in fur, but it looked like a man, like it was wearing a costume or something like that. But it was tall though. It was as tall as the like crates that we have sitting in the back. So that freaked me out. I hurry up and close the door, but because when I closed the door or opened the door, we had these like blinds, so it hit the door and it made a noise, and when it did that, I could tell it looked towards me, but it hurried up and turned around and ran towards the river, which would be to the north of the house plots.
Can you describe what this thing looked like physically? Like, did it have antlers or?
I couldn't really tell because it was just such a fast moment when I opened the door and I saw it, and I couldn't tell you like if it had horns or not because I just saw like the silhouette of it. In the back, the street light only reaches so far, so it was a quick glance, but it was definitely physically there because I could hear it jump the fence, and you could hear that it wasn't on all fours. You could hear definitely it was just bipedal. And then later on the next day we went over there. We saw like hooves like a goat, but it was only like you could see that it was only on 2 legs, not 4. And there's a irrigation ditch over there, so it leaped over that irrigation ditch and ran back there. And of course, it's filled back there, so we couldn't track it all the way through.
What do you think it was doing there?
I'm not entirely sure, but it seemed to me that it was bothering the dog. I don't know if it was trying to like take the dog or I don't know. It was definitely interested in our husky that was back there.
When you first saw it, I mean, what was your initial reaction to seeing it?
I want to see it, and I remember waking up my mom and say, "There's something back there. We got to go back there and check it out. Like we got to see what it is. Something was there that shouldn't be back there." That was my first thought.
You guys have captured some photos and things like that. And video too. But can you talk us through some of that stuff?
Yeah,
have you heard any like what you might attribute to like a Dogman howl or anything in the area?
I've heard some strange like howls, but it's hard to like depict because there are neighborhood dogs in the area. But we do get like screeching noise, very odd, and some things that like sounds like something trying to mimic other animals out there. And you can tell the difference when it happens.
I'm curious if you've considered the fact that these things might be like a shapeshifter.
I think so. I think they're more leaning towards like paranormal, maybe witchcraftery. That's my opinion on it. I haven't really gotten enough like hard evidence to back that up. It's just my opinion.
All right, we're good.
Cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. Do you, when it comes to like Dogman werewolves, is your opinion that these things are like a flesh and blood creature or paranormal? What's your read on it?
I think they're both. I mean, this is my personal opinion, is both paranormal and flesh. That's just my own thoughts and my opinion on that. A lot of people think it's a spiritual thing because a lot of them say, well, you know, you say it's flesh and blood. If it's flesh and blood, then we should be able to see it run off. So, and then you get some that are like, okay, this is paranormal because it's gone. Where did it go? We could follow their tracks and they stop. Did they disappear? Did they fly off? Did they boil back there? back into the ground. So that's why I say I believe it's both.
My name is Susie K. Ashcroft. We're in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we're sitting here in Albuquerque in my apartment. I'm retired now, and I have some stories that I want out there before anything else happens. Well, the main stories are about the reservation. I was raised on the reservation, on the Navajo reservation, and we were all over the place out there. My brother and his family lived out there pretty much all the time. I lived out there all the time until I was about 5, 6. I had to go to school in Gallup, so I had to leave the res. That didn't really sit well with me, so I never fit in, because the Navajos were my friends, and in Gallup's the Navajos necessarily weren't. So, you know, we were just ditching around being teenagers in beautiful downtown Gallup. One time we were out at Church Rock. I told Heather this. We were out at Church Rock. It was after 1970, I'm not sure the date, but my friend and I were in college by then. We'd come home for break. And we were up at Church Rock. We always went up there. We wandered around. We, you know, sit on a rock and watch the sunset or smoke a cigarette or do something. And we walked all the way, we got up there and we walked all the way around the church, the rock. And there's 2 big dips. When you're walking up there, you got to go up and then down this big old dip and then back up, and then you can walk around the rock, the big rock. But there's 2 big rocks sitting on either side of that dip. And we were coming down the dip like we knew what we were doing, and we started to cross a little spring, and I could see where our footprints, you know, when you first step in water in sand, you're gonna muddy it. Well, after it washes out some, you can see footprints. Well, our footprints were there, and there was a footprint that's about as big as my hand of a dog. And I saw it, and it was coming after us, not before us, but after us. And I told Linda, look, and she goes, we better go. And I said, okay. And so we started taking off. We went right back around the mountain. We started going down the dip, and I realized Linda wasn't with me, and I looked back up the dip, and she's frozen solid. And about that time I saw a brown blurb run from one rock to another. And Linda by that time was running, and I turned and ran, and I've never ever been back up there. I just remember it was tall, you know, it was man size, and it was on 2 legs, and it was running, and it ran from point A to point B. It was only a glimpse, but he was brown, hairy. I don't remember his eyes or anything like that. I can't remember seeing them. If I would have seen them, I'm sure I would have been traumatized by them. Because you can see crazy in eyes, and his would have been bad. I don't know if he was a skinwalker, because out at that time we had lots of, you know, on reservation towns you get all these gossips and stories and tales of the reservation, and most of them aren't true, but a lot of them are folklore, and we don't know for sure if they are or not. And the werewolf is one. You know, us kids out there, we'd seen them for years out at Kit Carson Cave or Church Rock or out south of town or wherever we were, there could have been one. And so we just grew to accept it, really kind of didn't believe it, but kind of did, you know, and so we were aware. And Linda and I that day were aware. I don't know that Linda's ever been back there, and I know I haven't. I've never gone back to Kit Carson's Cave either.
When you say she was frozen, did you ever ask her what happened that froze her there? Did she just...
She saw whatever too. And I looked at her, and she was just like this. And she was, I hope I get it right. She was Sue from Oklahoma. She knows the superstitions like I do too. And So, you know, we just knew to get the heck out of there. You don't go back up there. You don't disturb something that's kind of living in the between worlds. You don't disturb them. You leave them be. And if you do, you're liable to have one around you all the time, and I don't need a ghost.
When you say between worlds, can you explain that?
Well, it's kind of the place you guys go when you're creative. You're just in that zone and you're just doing it. And sometimes out there you can get there. You're just in between worlds and you're just doing it. And you're able to see the holiness and the spirits of the place. And you can feel them. For some reason, the days around here, since I've been ill, I see spirits in here. And I know they're pure people I know that have gone on. Are they coming to get me? I have no idea. Hope so. I hope they're not ushering me down the other way. But anyway, we just grow up out there, and there's spirit in the rock. There's spirit everywhere. And then the Navajo practices and all the other practices that are out there are holy. So when you're out there, remember that's holy place, because all these things that are in between your way of living and mine, or mine and yours, or whoever's, you know, are we alive or are we dead? Or are we just spirits wandering around? Or are we these different beings that for some reason have existed in this world since time started? So I don't know. I just know what I learned out there and how I was out there. And I know what freedom and love and beauty I was always surrounded with, even with the Navajo people. My first friends out there on the res were Navajo kids. And as long as I had penny candy in my pocket, I could hang around. And, you know, Navajo kids, Navajo people are my people, because that's where I was raised.
You said that the kids, other kids and stuff were aware these things were out there. Do you remember anyone else talking to you about seeing one of these things ever?
I can't remember, like grandma or granddad or somebody sitting me down and saying, "Hey, Suze." I can't remember that. I know there was a lot of folklore, and you'd hear the old ones talking around the coffee table or the coffee in the morning. But other than that, I don't think I was directly told. I was directly told, you've got to treat this place with respect, Susie, because there's lots and lots and lots of different ways of being out here, I think they called it. You know, my grandparents were born in the 1880s. They were born right after the Indian Wars. So, and Grandma was Paiute and dark, and Granddad was redhead and blue-eyed. That was kind of a combination. And, you know, back in those days, there was lots of discrimination, so they hid out on the res mostly. That's where they made their business, and the people treated them good. Well, the people have always treated me good. I've got all my cultures mixed up. I've got Spanish, I got Mexican, and Navajo. So every once in a while you'll hear me say one or the other of them. But we just knew. It was our home. That was where we were for generations. The Hatches and the Ashcrofts have been out there since, I don't know when, all the time.
When you guys both saw that thing, do you remember what the feeling was that came over you when you saw it? Like
abject fear, like, oh my God. If I've run into a bear once, and it was almost the same damn thing. He's too big, don't mess with him, and look at those claws, run. You know, after I saw him, I was out of there in a heartbeat. You know, and there's hills and things you gotta go up and down to get out of there, but I was already in the car and turned it around by the time Linda got there. You know, I mean, it terrified me, because I know there's stuff that I don't know necessarily about, and that I could run into any time. You know, we were always roaming around out there, and we'd go into, it's just a fear, you know. It's like the boogeyman or something, you know. You hear people talking about it, you hear people going, ooh, did you know over at the Toadlina's house the other night, blah, blah, blah. You know, because people would come in the store, and it was like a gathering place. And so you heard stories. And so as kids, we'd be out there, and our ears are big, and we're hearing stories. So we heard stories. Now, other than that one time I saw that, whatever that was, I'm not going to specify it as a werewolf because I don't know what it was. Was there gossip of werewolves out there? Sure. Kit Carson had werewolves. Everybody had werewolves. But there was something, and I'm sure if you ever found Linda, I hope she would back me up, but who knows? You know, people don't want to be known for seeing werewolves. So.
Can you describe the track again? Like, you said it was the size of your hand, but give me a description.
It had to have been that big, and it was like a paw print, like a dog, a big, like a wolf almost, but bigger than a wolf. It was the size of my hand. I've been around wolves. Wolves aren't that big. They're about that big, but not that big. And it was just a paw, you know, with the big thing on the front and the little ones around.
What, you said that Kit Carson, there were stories about werewolves or gossip about werewolves.
Church rock, yeah.
Was that just people encountered this thing when they went up there, or?
Well, there was stories of people encountering. Now, did they really? I don't know. I never talked to those other people. I know when we'd be partying out there, we were always on, you know, always watching and looking around. One time, I had passed out in a tree and moved wrong and fell on two lovers under the on the table below me. Well, they started screaming and yelling that I was a werewolf, but I wasn't a werewolf. You know, so we were out there a lot. It wasn't, and we were in our right minds and not right minds. So it was the 70s, guys. We were partying. It's the late 60s. For heaven's sakes, we were all going out of our minds back then. Well, you'll see different go by you know, but, and then I'll notice, everybody notices shadows or lights or something, you know, out of the periphery of your eye. Well, you notice that. Do I think they're all spirits? No, I just think they're reflections of cars going by or something. But do I think there are sometimes spirits around you? Sure. And you've got to be cognizant of that. So why would they come back to talk to us? There's got to be a reason, you know. Why would they? I don't think, oh yeah, there's bad spirits, I suppose, but I've never run into one, knock on wood. Please, Lord, don't let me. I don't want to. I don't want to see the other side of evil or the inside of evil. I don't know what that is out there. I don't know if it was made from evil or not, but usually some kind of slippage like that is somebody's dabbling somewhere they shouldn't. And I don't necessarily know what that means either, because I'm not a magic dabbler. I just am aware, and I've been aware pretty much all my life. Survival mechanism, as Savage can testify to, is it. You know, you've got to be aware. Where are you going to put your foot? Is there a rattlesnake there? You know?
When you saw it run, I know you said it was just a blur, but do you remember anything about the way it moved or anything, or was it just there and all?
It ran just almost like us. It kind of like took the first start with a leap, because he was scrunched down when I saw it, to a leap when he jumped up and he took off, but then he was running just like us. And it was so quick. I bet he only took two links of legs going across there to get across. You know, I mean, he was a big guy.
What about lingering effects from the encounter? Did you have any dreams? Did you worry about going outside? Any of that kind of stuff?
No, I didn't go back up there ever again. No, that was one of the hangouts. You know, everybody went to Church Rock. You know, I never went back.
Oh yes. Can you explain to me what a skinwalker is?
No, don't talk about those.
Why not?
Who are they? What are they? How do they walk through the ethers? Why do you want to know? I don't want to know. And I don't want them hanging around me either. I don't know what they are. And I haven't seen one. Thank you. Thank you, knock on wood. That's what I'm doing. I don't ever want to see one because I don't know exactly what they are. Are they between world things? Are they things? What are they? I don't know. The religiosity about them or whatever the culture you want to think about them, they're people that got stuck or they're people being used for witchcraft. Navajo witchcraft is one of the most scariest witchcrafts I've ever been around. And I've been, you know, when you're a mental health therapist, you have a lot of occult experiences, if you will. And so I've been around, but that was just way, way different. It was, and I don't know what it was. I don't ever want to see one, but there's a feeling when they're around. And I don't know what they are, but I don't want to know what they are.
Was there, you said, I mean, I'm just curious if you ever smelled anything while you were out there walking around after you found the track.
You know what a dirty dog smells like? A real dirty dog? That's kind of what it smelled like when we walked through up there. You know, because he was already over there. We were coming around like this. You know, he'd followed us all the way around, and then we were coming back around when I saw the track, and I saw the track way over here. When we started going down the hill, he was up on this side of that rock. And the only way I saw him was when he ran across where the dip was, where we all followed the trail down. And he was on this side and he ran across that side. And it was I've never seen somebody run that fast before, or ever since. So I don't know. I don't know if he had a nose and an eyes, and I don't know. I just know he was equal to us, and he was up on two legs, and he didn't look like he should be on two legs.
I started setting up cameras after we had lights flickering and then scratches here and there, footsteps in the house areas.
We've also picked up something on camera which looks like a ghost dog, wolf dog is what I call it.
There's a lot of history here, a lot of strange things here. There's famous murders that took place that involve some tribal magic and some curses that were flung about. And there's a strangeness in the mountains there. Anywhere there's tribal lands, you're going to run into some things that you don't understand, that you're not meant to understand.
It's a cursed patch of earth, and there's a lot of Native Americans that will not go out there at all.
But by the time I got closer to where I would turn off, I was at least 75. Whatever it was, it would sometimes run like a human and then like an animal.
So the creature that I had seen did seem flesh and blood to me at that point in time in life. It looked very similar to a Dogman, a werewolf, Skinwalker. It was gonna eat me.
Like the person that you probably bumped into might have been a Skinwalker, might have been medicine man, might have been just a regular person. And how they turn into the animals by killing the person you love most.
Who are they? What are they? How do they walk through the ethers? Why do you want to know?